We start off, Dr. Kim Cheatle resigns as the director of the Secret Service. Here's an ABC News report. Sherry Preston, Pierre Thomas talking about this important decision.
The Secret Service head, Kimberly Cheatle, is stepping down. She testified for 5 hours on Capitol Hill yesterday about security lapses during the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Here's ABC News Chief Law and Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas.
Cheatle saying a local SWAT team spotted the gunman on the roof of that warehouse about 18 minutes before Trump took stage.
Why was he allowed to take the stage with a suspicious person having been identified in the crowd?
If the detail had been past information that there was a threat, the detail would never have brought the former president out onto stage.
And that the Secret Service received between 2 and 5 alerts about a suspicious person.
So that is the basis of the failure. And so I have a couple of statements I want to read. This is from the President of the United States. This is President Joe Biden. Jill and I are grateful to Director Kim Cheatle for her decades of public service. She has selflessly dedicated and risked her life to protect our nation throughout her career in the United States Secret Service. We especially thank her for answering the call to lead the Secret Service during our administration. We are grateful for her service to our family. So he talks about a brief statement, talks about her courage. He said the independent review to get to the bottom of what happened July 13th continues. I look forward to assess its conclusion. We all know that what happened that day can never happen again. As we move forward, I wish Kim all the best, and I will plan to appoint a new director soon. So there's a lot of questions. One of them was, how did all of this happen? There had to be many failures for this to happen. If you want to avoid the obvious conspiracy theories that are beginning to really take root in all of this, and you know there's always going to be some, you are going to have to be absolutely transparent with the American people. And she wasn't. This is Pierre Thomas, ABC. She did not. She had issues answering questions about this.
Cheatle saying a local SWAT team spotted the gunman on the roof of that warehouse about 18 minutes before Trump took stage.
Why was he allowed to take the stage with a suspicious person having been identified in the crowd?
If the detail had been past information that there was a threat, the detail would never have brought the former president out onto stage.
And that the Secret Service received between 2 and 5 alerts about a suspicious person.
So when you hear those details, you wonder, why was he out there? They also talked about the miscalculation of what the roof threat. What about all of the audio and the video? Has it been turned over? These are questions. But let's start there. Let's start with the questions about all the audio and video.
In 4.5 hours of blistering questions, Democrats and Republicans demanding that the director resign.
If you have an assassination attempt on a president, a former president, or a candidate, you need to resign.
Lawmakers angry as Cheatle refused to answer specific questions about what went wrong.
Have you provided all audio and video recordings in your possession to this committee, as we asked on July 15th, yes or no?
I would have to get back to you.
That is a no.
See, and that's the issue. The evasiveness of answering questions. You could not answer. And if the answer is no, then you explain why. But this just stinks of a cover-up to people because of the way it's been handled. I am not a conspiracy theorist. I never have been a conspiracy theorist. But for the people out there that are looking at this, and I have friends that are across law enforcement that have been a part of issues like this and events like this. I've been in attendance in a lot of events like this. I was just spent a week at the Republican National Convention. That entire town was on lockdown. It was handled very well. There was an overwhelming law enforcement presence. It was well coordinated. There was a lot of good communication. There were arrests that were made. There was a guy that was shot because he was brandishing a knife. There was another guy that was arrested near the convention location, not the convention center, but near the location, and he had an AR-15 in a bag. They arrested that guy, so they were able to do this job. But this is the part about the miscalculation of the roof threat.
Cheatle saying a local SWAT team spotted the gunman on the roof of that warehouse about 18 minutes before Trump took stage, and that the Secret Service received between 2 and 5 alerts about a suspicious person before the first shot was fired. The director saying the gunman was not considered a threat until mere seconds before the shooting.
That's, again, answering those questions within the agency. Within this organization, I will tell you that it runs normally like a well-oiled machine. They do a lot of things that seem unnecessary, but now we see why they're necessary. The motorcade, for the presidential motorcade, but that limousine that the president is in is absolutely one of the most impressive machines I have ever seen in my life. It's a tank. You know, there's no way you're getting inside that vehicle or destroying that vehicle. But they drive very fast. They shut down traffic, a long time before the motorcade passes. I've been in a motorcade. We were driving 70 miles an hour on 16th Street in a van trying to keep up with the motorcade. We were a part of the press motorcade when the vice president was here, when Vice President Pence was here. You're driving 60, 70 miles an hour on a street, but all of the traffic is locked down. They do this not to be impressive, but they do this. The speed is necessary to be evasive. They do a lot of things that seem to be like way too much. Why do you have to block off traffic so early? Why do you shut down the freeways? Well, this is why. And so to have an event like this that seems to be so mismanaged, not just the fact that let's start at the beginning. How did this guy get there? There were reports about this guy. There were snipers that took pictures of this guy because of his behavior. The hindsight part of it, of him flying a drone over it later, they found out later. But in the immediate, that's what they do, is they assess behavior. If you've ever been to an event, maybe you'll notice this now. If you've ever been to a rally with the former president or with a president, vice president, first lady, you watch what the Secret Service does. And when they are assigned a section, an area, they are looking from your hands to your face. They're looking at your eyes. They're looking at your mannerisms and behaviors. They're looking to see if your hands are visible. Now, they've done the clearance. You've gone through the metal detectors. They have searched bags. They have done all of those things. But also in an abundance of caution in case something slipped by. They are watching everyone in their section, and they go from person to person to person to person. They're watching your demeanor. They're watching your facial expressions. They're watching your eyes. They're looking for odd behavior. They're looking at your hands to see where your hands are. Are they hidden? Are you putting them in your pockets, or are you putting them somewhere as if you're about to pull something out, a weapon or otherwise? They do this in every one of they are meticulous in how they do things. So how did this guy with the odd behavior, so odd that law enforcement was taking pictures, how did he escape them from the beginning and get away from their view? How did he get out of sight? But once he was out of sight, why wasn't there a notification to the Secret Service and the detail that was watching the president specifically that gave the clearance for him to take the stage? Then he's on the roof. And people are pointing out that he's on the roof. The president was still allowed to go on stage. How does that happen? How does this guy get a gun that close to the president? Forget being able to get on the roof, just being within that area. And when you look at where the area is, and you look at this whole place, if he was just hell-bent on murder and not taking a shot at the former president, shooting into that crowd would have been easy and a horribly terrifying thing to even picture in your mind. But you look at what he did. You look at what he did and how he was able to get on that roof, how he was able to stay on the roof, and then they let the president out and he was able to get off all those shots. There are so many questions. Why was that building outside of the perimeter? Again, these are professionals on these advanced teams that assess threats from the very beginning. They have maps, they have walkthroughs, they have instructions for local law enforcement. This is a coordinated effort that takes a lot of detail, but these are professionals that do this every single day. So for them, it's the same event in a different location. We're looking for threats. We are looking for where vulnerable areas are, like a rooftop with a look down at the podium. We're looking for escape routes. We're looking for alternate escape routes. We're looking for if there are multiple threats at once, if it's more than one person. They assess this every single time. So how there was a breakdown from the first people that noticed this guy acting oddly to how did he get in the area with a firearm? How did he get on that roof? And why, with all of that going on and all the communication that had to have broken down, for them to allow the former president to take the stage? So the word is now, it's out there, that the Secret Service director has resigned. Will this cure the problem with new leadership, or is this just the first domino to fall? Those are the questions.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Catch up on Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast, and click the button in the middle to subscribe.